Microsoft has secured a $10 billion contract with the U.S. Defense Department to supply technology to the military over the next 10 years. The Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure Project is also known as JEDI. Other technology companies such as Amazon, IBM, and Oracle also put in a bid for the project, but ultimately lost out. Google was concerned JEDI would interfere with its ethical guidelines and walked away from the project. Microsoft employees have also protested the venture over ethical concerns. CNET editor-at-large Ian Sherr joins me now from San Francisco. Ian, thank you so much for being with us. For many months, Amazon was considered the front runner in winning the contract, but in a surprise announcement, the Pentagon chose Microsoft instead. What was the selection process like? How did Microsoft end up securing the contract?
Well, it took 2 years, and a lot of the conversation was around whether or not these companies are capable of handling a lot of the secure files and a lot of the secrets that the government would want to be able to store in these systems. It turned out that Amazon and Microsoft were the ones who had the most capability in that regard, which is not a surprise because Amazon and Microsoft are pioneers of all of this cloud computing stuff that now runs a lot of the plumbing of the internet. But what's interesting here is that there's this other kind of side story that is not just about who won the contract, but the fact that President Trump is not a fan of Amazon at all. You may remember that Amazon's CEO, Jeff Bezos, owns the Washington Post. He often marries the two in his tweets. He'll call them the Amazon Washington Post, although Amazon doesn't own the Washington Post. It's Jeff Bezos. And so there's a question as well about whether or not President Trump's constant kind of twittering about Amazon may have had an impact here, which is something that, Amazon, of course, is probably going to bring up.
Well, what kind of implications will this project have on the cloud computing industry?
A lot of it is going to come into who is a real competitor to Amazon. Amazon's become so large and they are so dominant over the cloud computing world that it's really hard to see anyone competing. Google is getting better at competing with them. By the way, they could have competed in this contract, but they backed out because they made a kind of a public announcement that they weren't going to allow their technology to be used for ways that could harm people. And there's concern the Defense Department might just do that. But there's this conversation about who's going to really become the people who can win this stuff and really become the leaders in this industry. And Microsoft being able to take this contract, which is worth billions of dollars, makes them also a real competitor for other government contracts down the line.
Well, how has Microsoft responded to ethical concerns?
Microsoft's CEO says often that he's listening to his employees. He's trying in a lot of ways to have it both ways, where he says, look, I understand your concerns, but he's also seeking out these contracts. And it'll be really interesting to see. We see the tech industry in general, a lot of the employees are starting to rise up. And we've written about this on CNET many times. Google, Facebook, all over the place, the employees are really starting to protest and flex their muscles about what their companies are doing. And that could cause some trouble for Microsoft down the line.
Well, Microsoft stocks ticked up following the announcement. To what extent is this contract expected to drive Microsoft's growth over the next several years?
I mean, $10 billion for anyone is a plus sign, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
that's a good one right there.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, as time goes on, I think we're going to start seeing Microsoft being able to use this as its marketing, right? And saying, look, we're not just one of the leading tech companies in the world. We're not just worth $1 trillion. The government is investing in us, right? And that's going to help them really sell on all the other people who may be questioning and saying, well, I know Amazon. Why would I go with Microsoft? Now they're able to say, well, the government did. Why wouldn't you?
All right, Ian Sherr for us. Ian, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.